For me, I'm trying to stop him from using the telephones too much.
Brett, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here. And first of all, not just being here, I say that's my traditional thing, but you've been here to visit. This is your first time coming back since you left.
Yeah,
23
this
years
is
ago.
23 years, yeah.
23 years, and you brought your wife and your son, Axel.
Yeah.
He's quite I like him.
I mean, he's 6 years old now. He's running around. Like I was saying earlier, it's a big change for me from pre my son to after my son in terms of the outlook on life.
Right.
As I'm sure any parent can attest to right now. So I think my life is better in so many ways. It's the first time that I can genuinely say I'm selfless in that manner. You know, I mean, obviously still taking care of myself and what I have to do, but always looking out for someone else was something that made me mature a little bit more. I could feel it.
But wait, hold on. Did your parents come to live with you before or after he was born?
After. So
But you had them visit you several times.
Several times they were coming up
So
here.
you've always been a good, come on, you've always been a good son to your parents because you felt that you had an obligation.
I didn't see it like that, though.
You never did see it that way. I'm just saying, your parents you did a good job with Brett. You did a fantastic job with him because he didn't see himself as taking care of you. He loved you so much, he wanted to see you with him. That's how you were doing it, I think. Because I saw when you brought them here to Japan, you said, the way you asked me, you said, I think you were calling me Mr. Lee then. You said, Mr. Lee at that time. But now you call me.
Is that okay?
It's okay. Of course it is. Of course it is. But you said, Mr. Lee, I want you to meet my parents because you're a 19-year-old kid and you had your parents here, and we were in the Genkan Gallery.
Mm-hmm. Good memory.
There, and we took a picture there.
Yes.
Facing I think it was the Spring Cafe or whatever. We were facing that way, not where the piano lounge was.
Right.
Facing that direction. We took a picture together. But I could see the pride you had in your mother and father. That was so
This is
great.
their first trip coming outside of Australia. So, like, that is remarkable, right? Just
I think
to show them around and imagine how much excitement you have that you've just been here and you've seen something that is completely different to your upbringing.
Right.
You know, when you're born and raised somewhere, you think that the whole world thinks and operates the same way there. And you even see that when you go back to my home country now and you see it with certain relatives. I mean, it's not their fault, it's just they haven't traveled.
That's their journey.
Yeah. So, but then it's really hard to relate on certain topics and, you know, it's really hard to explain. You have to experience it for yourself.
The thing that I can relate to is when I remember I lived in Japan for a while and I went back to visit my mother.
Yeah.
And they start watching Discovery Channel. And they were doing it on places I'd seen in Asia.
Yeah.
And I'd say, I've been there. And they were looking at me like, so we want to see it on TV.
Yeah.
Why aren't you guys, they wouldn't ask me anything about where I'd been, but they'd watch Discovery Channel, but they wouldn't talk to me about it.
No.
They had no interest in knowing that I'd been there. And I said, I know what, that should be a crossing. So.
Isn't it amazing? You know.
But it's changing now, Brett, because they have so much access, YouTube and everything. They don't have to wait until Discovery Channel comes on.
Right.
So they're seeing people around the world doing breakdance and eating and feeling the same way they do.
Sure.
So even if they don't go, they know it exists.
They know it exists. I do think there's a difference by being here and actually seeing
Most
it
definitely
for sure,
is.
right?
Most definitely.
The ins and outs of it all and everything like that.
What is some of the ins and outs? Because you told me, when I first met you, you said, I remember us sitting, I think we were having lunch or something next door in front of the bowling alley. Or you were sitting with me. And you said, can I talk with you? I said, sure. You said, I want to go to Thailand.
Yeah.
I said, then go.
Yeah, you did.
I said, go.
Absolutely,
I said, what are you waiting for?
You did.
And I said, but what are you going to do there? You said, I want to start my own gym. I said, Brett, the only thing stopping you is you.
You did. And part of this conversation, I remember it clearly, it was at the American Diner. I forget what it was called.
That's what it's called. American.
That's what it was called.
It had the red seats, American Diner.
That's
what it was.
right, with the
in front of the bowling alley.
Yeah.
And we sat down there.
You were, since I was an intern, you were always very approachable to me. In fact, I think you were one of the first Americans that I ever spoke to. So something that actually struck me was the accent.
Okay.
So we're brought up watching movies, now to me, basketball is my favorite sport. So all of a sudden, I'm seeing a
black
tall
African-American
guy
right.
in front of me with an American accent.
Right.
And I got pictures of Jordan all over my wall, right? So I'm just like, I was a bit starstruck.
Okay.
So in a great way, right?
I know.
So I'm like, okay, it's really interesting to talk to an American, and anything you say, I'll just be like, yeah, okay. But you're very approachable from the very beginning.
Well, then the other guy that you told me really influenced you was Johnson.
Joe Johnson.
Joe Johnson.
Yeah.
Because he came there to work out fitness. His wife was working, I think, and he was trailing her, but he was an ex-football player.
I think he played for Washington Redskins and won a Super
really
Bowl
built.
with
He was
them
really
as well.
built, yeah.
And he went to the University of Notre Dame and got drafted to the Atlanta Hawks basketball NBA at the same year as the NFL. So I don't think that's happened too many times.
Okay.
And he had to choose which one to go to. So automatically you know, okay, this guy's a phenomenal athlete. When he played basketball, just casually, you know that he was very, very good at what he did.
He was good at what he did, yeah.
But something about him, I mean, imagine a 19-year-old naive, I use that word strongly because I was, coming over here. That guy genuinely took care of me in so many different ways. Like he would, the first time that we went and bought a scooter to get around town, he took me on it when I was on there. And I didn't go on the off track and try to practice riding the scooter. I was straight on the road and he was right next to me on his scooter. Now I remember I didn't know you had to do this, and I'm almost caught into the car.
Okay.
And he's like, whoa, and he's guided me through that first process. Like, he didn't have to do all that.
I understand that, right.
You know, he would always be there when I needed to chat, when it was a little bit stressful, or I didn't understand something about Thailand or America or whatever it was, giving me advice on how to handle membership relationships and all of that. So that guy, the whole way through.
I find that people that have had that happen to them are very keen to do that with other people.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he had somebody coaching him.
Yeah.
And he remembers that. And I think all of us are. I think that's our nature as human beings. When we see somebody in need, particularly when we were in need and someone helped us, we want to give that, we want to pass it forward.
Okay.
We want to give it to others. I'm sure there's so many people you've helped.
Because
you remember what happened to you.
Yeah.
You said, hey, let me help you, buddy.
Yeah, I remember. So getting back to what you were saying at the bowling alley, when you were talking to me, and I knew you were approachable, I remember saying, hey, I want to go to Thailand, I want to do this and that and that. And most people would just be like disregarding it. It's a pipe
Did you try
dream.
talking to other people?
Oh, in regards to mentioning that I'm interested in the gym somewhere in Thailand, It wasn't detailed, but basically they were instantly like laughable. I was laughing at it. You know, maybe because they've been there on holiday and they've just seen it as some kind of party town if you go to a small little area of it. But you were very like, okay, and you asked me a lot of questions about it. And initially I thought, oh, okay, he's just trying to catch me in something where it's going to go wrong. But you didn't. Your intentions were to actually help and see how it's going. And you were like, yes, go for it. See what go on with life and take a couple of risks and chances. No,
the risk of not doing it.
Is not.
I think I told you that too before. I said, when people say, I'm going to take a risk, hold. You're taking a risk staying here.
It is definitely going towards AI right now. I mean...
Well, then that's why I say you should start learning how to play with that tool, because it's our tool.
Yeah, that's right. So
learn to work with that tool.
It's a tricky one when you're raising a kid in this situation too. Like for me, I'm trying to stop him from using the telephones too much, from using watching cartoons, for example, the TV. I'm trying to limit that as much as I can, and hopefully trying to limit his first phone until he gets to a point where it's just I can't control it anymore.
Well, instead of trying to limit him, Brett, I would think, why don't you show him how to use it now?
Interesting.
And then you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, don't go against it. Go with it. It's too pervasive for you to go against.
How about delaying the usage?
Well, if you showed him now, because he may need it now. You don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I would do at this time, but I see where you're coming from. You're actually helping me speak to me. Okay, so if I were in that situation, I have a granddaughter now. I don't know. Should they let her start doing the phone now, or should they show her, this is what you need to do? You need to be able to call me right away. These are the numbers I want you to call first.
I think, okay, so that we've done. The telephone, right? In terms of essentials of what needs to be done for interacting in today's society.
Right.
What I'm talking about is when you see people on the street or the train and all they're doing is this.
Yeah.
and they're not seeing what's going on around them. Right? People are just so engaged with their phones. It's their whole life right there.
Yeah.
And I understand why. So that's not a criticism. We all do it. But I want him to understand that I think it's going to go too far. I think we can just basically, our reality is set in that phone and not at what's around us. So I want him to understand that there's a limit to how much he can use this. Use it as a tool, but not to the point where it is today. I think it's going to get more and more.
I think so, but what's going to be, it's going to be a heads-up display. So you won't see them looking at their phone. They'll be looking, they'll look like they're looking at you, but they'll be able to see this too.
Yeah.
You won't see it, but they'll see it in the same thing. You'll be looking and you'll be doing my whole analysis. You'll say, well, why is this temperature going up?
Right. you know. That's, well, they've already done it on Meta glasses.
But you can do it, I'm saying. And you do it in your cars.
Yeah.
In the car, in certain cars, you can look at it and they have heads-up displays, so you can see the speedometer right away. Right. How fast you're going, the temperature, what date it is.
Yeah. That's right.
You can put up there anything you want. You can get your texts through there. So you can be reading your text and still driving. In Apple, with that Apple Vision, have you been? I'm
not really into Apple. No.
Well, just go to Shibuya and just have them go through the thing there, and you'll see what you do. You look at an application, and then you go like this with your fingers, and it opens.
Oh, well, okay. So
wherever it can sense where you're looking. Whatever you look at, you just go like that. Look over here, and it opens. You can move it like this. You can do 2 fingers. You can scroll up just by doing this, moving your hands, and it's nowhere around there. You can have several applications out there, as many as you want to. Yeah. You can have them. I can make this whole room virtually different, and then I can go like this and make it so I can see you.
Yeah, I mean, this has been on Nintendo for a while,
I can see you. Oh, it's just. Well, they have other things too that are virtual realities I've gotten into, and there's one, and I found out one fear I have. When you get an ocean or you're looking over something, it scares me.
Yeah, it does.
And I know I have the floor there.
No, it does me too. You're not the only one.
I'm afraid to jump, even though I know the floor is right. I'm actually in the floor, but it scares me, and I like heights, but that for some reason.
You're talking to someone who was just at Disney Sea for 3 days and 2 nights, and they had these exact situations. Oh, there's one called soaring, where you're strapped in with 5 other people, and all it is a huge screen in front of you.
Right.
And this thing just moves like that.
Right.
And it feels like you're going off the Sydney Harbour Bridge, off the pyramids. You're just falling down, and you feel like you're falling.
Right.
And you haven't really moved.
Right.
It's incredible what they can do with your mind just by moving the seat around a little bit.
So what happened?
I was like this. I couldn't, even though I knew I could probably put my feet down.
Right.
I just didn't like it at all.
Isn't that it?
Yeah.
That's what I feel in the water, because you know why? I used to snorkel out in Puerto Rico when I was stationed there, and you go out so far to where there's a cliff and it turns black.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'd go out that far, and I remember going out that far thinking, what if a shark came up? I would be thinking, so I would just take my fins and just go back the other way. But really, you're looking into the abyss. It's just pitch black. No sun can get down there. And you get up and I'm really far away from it because I'm up at the top. But thinking, what if something came up? There's no way you're going to get away from it.
Know. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, you're probably similar in that regard. I don't know, you could tell me. But from where you are today, you have to be. You look at something and you're like, okay, risk reward. Okay, if I do this now, what are the consequences of that going to happen? And in those situations, I'm always trying to predict. If I can't see it, if I can't even think of it, of what's going to happen next, I'm a little bit like, okay, the reward's not enough.
We're not enough. Okay, I don't know. I think of it as risk and reward, but that's a good way to look at it. I think of what will this body be able to maintain? Because I always wanted to bungee jump.
Right.
Because it's scary as I don't know what.
Yeah.
But now I'm afraid that when it snaps like that, my body might throw something off.
And it has happened.
Oh, has it?
Yes, it has. It has. Bungee jumping has injuries, a lot of injuries, especially when you're older.
I think spinal injury.
There's a lot of injuries. Right.
I love doing that, but what I'm going to do though is skydive. Because the worst thing can happen. I'll skydive. I'm going to jump out of a plane.
Okay.
And if it's first, you have to do it on someone on your back.
Yeah.
I think so. I'll do that someday, and the worst that can happen there is I'll just go into the next.
The skydiving is a lot better than bungee in
There's
regards
no
to
jack
injury.
back. You just land. You land, and you're pretty good. You have the guy with you.
I think you'll be pretty good with that one.
I'm okay with that. My sons gave me for a birthday gift a couple of years back the tunnel, the air tunnel, where you get in and they push air.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're
Okay,
skydiving, you're going like this.
Yeah.
And I wanted the guy to let me go, but if he would have, I probably would have went straight into it.
So he was holding you the whole time?
Yeah, because he was worried because my body's so much longer than what he's used to. And he was just but they get in there and they do all these things, but you have to know how to handle the air to do these things. And what happens when you shift yourself? But I thought that was neat, so I got up there and did that. That was fun.
So risk reward, I would say that is a reward from there. That's kind of how I look at it. I remember everything I'm telling you now. I kind of remember that's kind of what I'm saying to my son as well. You know, whether he believes it or not is another thing. But I think at this age, between 2 to 7, is a really good time to kind of lay the foundation. You know?
Right.
I mean, the difference between
up until 12, actually, all of his emotional makeup. 12? They say up until 12, the emotional makeup of a person is there. After that, it's just information, unless something traumatic happens. Like he gets in a bad accident or somebody close to him has something dramatic happens. Basically, his emotional makeup is made up. If he's fearful of things or whatever. But I believe that also your children are always looking at you.
Definitely.
And I say this, you're still looking at your father. Okay? So you're wondering, will your son be the same way to you that you are to your dad?
Interesting.
Right? But you're thinking about your dad and how was he to me and how does he react to what I do? And
that helps a lot. What was done, what you think is the right way, what was done that could have been done better. And I definitely do think of that all the time. You're right.
Isn't that something? You're always comparing yourself. And I think the same with women. They're always thinking about their mother and how they, how they were. Because you can't think about the opposite sex because you're not that sex. Right. Some people might be, but majority of the people aren't. They're one or the other. So I think that what I always tell people is this, is that our children don't represent our future. They represent our past because the only thing we can teach them is what we've already learned. Right. Now, on the other hand, what we represent to our children is their possible future. So we owe it to them, but most of all to ourselves, to be all we can be to show them what's possible.
Very, very nicely said. But in regards to how they understand what we're saying, don't you find it really tough that they have to also experience it before they believe what you say? So if you see something coming that you know is going to be a danger, and you're like, hey, listen, I've had the experience of seeing that this happened 99% of the time. I recommend you don't do it. But they just want to go and see that anyway. They're not going to understand until they actually do it.
And then what happens may be different than what happened to you.
Correct.
See? So there's no way. Either way, you don't know. It could be different because I thought about situations and my son would say, Dad, that's not what happened. Yeah. What was it like for you going to Thailand? When you were in Thailand, what was your first experience?
Thailand was on holiday from here initially, and I'm just like everyone else, every other young male. I just thought that it was a fantastic party atmosphere, and probably the side of me that wanted to stay there was because it was so much fun, just like everybody else. But I knew that. I think that the difference between a lot of men that go over there to live, they always end up losing all their money, going back to their hometown with their head between their legs. They're either in prison or they go down the wrong path for alcohol or drugs. It's a sad state of affairs with the foreigners that actually live in Thailand. Not all, of course, but a lot of them. And I think it's because a lot of them lack discipline, right? So the discipline is needed. If you've got that area of Thailand where, okay, you can have a great time in the evening, and it's 24 hours basically. Okay. It's unlike any place that I've ever seen before in terms of that much fun for a young adult. If you don't have the discipline to say, right, okay, you know what, I need to exercise, I need to take care of my body, I need to set my career, this needs to take a back seat, or put that somewhere where you need to once a week or maybe once a month or twice a week, whatever it is, you need to have that routine and that discipline in order to succeed there. Otherwise, you go down this beaten path. And I mean, I don't want to say evil, but basically, good, evil, here, there, you're tested. Okay. Whatever religion, spirit you believe in, you're tested. Yin, yang, everything's about balance. Okay. I do believe that. Balance and consistency. So that comes from what I do as a job. right? So you're looking at, in terms of 37 degrees Celsius, we have to stay that temperature throughout the whole day. And your body's constantly fighting to keep that homeostasis, to keep it at that level. So you're constantly either shivering or you're sweating, whatever it needs to be to stay at that temperature. When you're exercising, you're trying to balance out your health, right? So if you go party, obviously you're going to lose your health. If you go and not take care of your body, that's going to happen. So you have to take care of it. If you exercise too much, you can also hurt your body. So there's a balance there. There's always too much of something. It's the same with, it's the same with politics too. So there's a balance of what I think is fair, which is different for everybody, I understand that. But there's also extremes. And it's very, very easy to go to one extreme. The human brain can do that so easily. So if I'm exercising, I'm thinking, you know what? Everyone else is thinking you're looking good. All of a sudden, like, you know what? That guy's got more muscle than me. I'm going to try and beef that out. And all of a sudden, you're either doing like so much weights, or you become one of the steroid freaks that we see in the gyms, and their health deteriorates, right? Or you're just, okay, I've lost a lot of fat, but it's not enough. You become anorexic because you're not eating enough, but you think you're fat. I think that it can happen in everything.
Right, that's
that
true.
the human brain can just go so extreme so easily, and you don't even realize it.
Right.
So just keeping that balance and consistency, I think, is the key to everything.
So what do you think helps you to do that, to keep that balance? What is, you think you have to be religious, spiritual? Do you think it's
a great
reading
question.
more? Do you think you need to watch more YouTube on? I don't know. What techniques would you use to help someone maintain that balance? Because it's a daily thing, you're saying.
It's a
every
constant
minute
thing. Well, when we get up, we brush our teeth. Why do we do that? Because we know that the teeth will rot. We know we have to do that. So no one really thinks about doing that too much. It's just done. So people get up, they brush their teeth, they wash themselves. Why do we do that? We know that there's a consequence if we don't. I view exercise as the same thing. So if I don't exercise, because I see what happens when you don't, that, you know, your heart deteriorates, your muscles deteriorate, and you're losing muscles, a big deal. You know, that's responsible for so many things in our health. And as we get older, it's called sarcopenia, the muscle wastes away. So I would say weight training becomes more important to older adults, even more so than cardio, actually, when it comes to that. You mentioned religion before and all of that, and I think it would be different for everybody to get to that state. Like a monk would just be like, okay, yin yang, meditation purposes, don't be too much of this, too much of that. And that works for him, and that works for a lot of people. For me, it gets back to that risk-reward thing I was talking to you about. It's like, if I don't, I can see that it leads this way.
Right.
If I do, I see that it leads this way.
Right.
I see the most successful people taking care of their health. I see the most successful people, for example, relating it to money. So if I have a client coming in and saying, okay, this is the most constant thing. Client comes in, he's overweight, he's been eating too much for 3-4 years, drinking way too much, a bottle of wine a night, whatever it might be, comes in and says, Brett, I want to lose 10 kilos, but I need it by December, which is 3 months away, because I want to look good for my wedding. He's a wealthy person. A lot of my clients are wealthy. They came in and they're asking for that. And the easiest explanation I can give them is saying, to build your wealth, did you go to the casino and try and build it up that way, whereas it was a quick fix? You could make $2 million, or did you listen to some investor come and say, listen, you could make triple your money in 1 week? Are you going to believe him? You're asking me to do the same thing. You have to look at it long term. It's exactly the same thing. With building your wealth, the easiest way to do it is compound interest. So doing that with your wealth, putting a certain amount, $1,000 can become $100,000 in 10 years' time if you play it right. It's not that much of a risk either. It's the same thing with exercise. Warren Buffett says it all the time. 30 years he's going to have so much wealth built over just by being consistent. Because over time, the stock market goes up, even though sometimes you go up and down like this, but over time it's like a 9% return. Rolex watches, also another thing. It's also like a 10% return if you look at it.
That's right.
Yeah, so I would say for me, it's about being consistent over time, you're going to get a better result. And that goes for weight loss as well, for sure. Little by little. If you don't do 5 days a week, if it's not realistically possible, you're going to fade over 3 months. You're not going to continue to do it. I can't believe we keep banging our heads against the wall, actually. It's evident. It's right in front of us. There's examples everywhere, and we still choose to choose a quick fix.
Right.
So quick fixes for me are a no-no. Yeah? I mean, that's something I used to do when I was young and stupid.
That's right. It's funny you said to me, when you were young, you said, I was approachable. What makes someone approachable and someone not approachable? What did I do to you that made you think I was approachable?
I'm trying to think of that. Okay, so first of all, just the presence. I think that you genuinely ask questions yourself. You're active on that. So how many people go and ask questions about you on a daily basis? I don't think many, if at all. So when you encounter someone that is genuinely interested in what you're doing, it's like, first of all, you're a bit skeptical. Because you're like, oh, what does he want? Right? That's just an instinct. If you don't have that instinct, you might be very naive because there are a lot of people that do that to get what they want. Mm-hmm. So you have to have that wall somewhat. But at that age, I think I was more open because I didn't even have that wall. So I was like, this guy's interested in what I'm doing, and I see someone there that I could learn from instantly. I think it was just really because you're open and wanting to know someone. Wanting to know so many people. And people, what's the best subject they want to talk about?
Themselves.
That's right. So if you go up to someone and you're asking about them,
I'm sincerely interested about people. That's why I enjoy doing this. I want to know more about people, and I want people to know more about other people. And that's the kind of environment I want around me.
Right.
Where people know each other. And I think we can generate much more. We can keep each other financially stable. We can do so many different things and get past that and do the other stuff.
What about, though, we're talking about when, like I was brought up in a Christian college, all-boys school.
Okay.
Wearing the uniform, all of this.
Was it Catholic?
Catholic school. And actually, I do like it.
That's the biggest religion, the biggest Christian religion in the world, yeah.
Right.
Catholicism.
And it did teach us some fundamental things that helped us.
Exactly.
But like anything, you can also get extremism too.
And they
people saying, "Oh, you must believe," all
That's
this
exorcism. They do exorcism.
Yeah.
The Sisters of Poverty.
Right.
Purgatory.
Right.
What's this? Wait. I can't go. You mean you got to pray somebody? Come on. These novena candles.
Yeah.
And the fact that only if a priest, it has to come from God to you, from him to you. You can't get it direct. You can't, and he's going to punish you. What are you talking about, man?
Yeah. So this is where it becomes extreme, right? But again, this is where Buddhism actually in Thailand, they can also go extreme, but generally speaking, the philosophy is that middle balance that we were talking about before.
Right.
And I just think that any religion has that part of it there. And the human, we're so flawed. We are flawed in so many different ways, and we all have evil in us. We all have good in us.
But that's what you were taught.
Yeah. Well, I just believe that you need to be on top of that somewhat, and many experiences in a row is going to help that. So if you look at history, all of the treacherous dictators, Mao's China, Stalin, all these people that killed millions of people.
Hitler.
Then Hitler, you have Castro, you have all these types of people. All started, if you read on it, with great intentions. All started with trying to help people, great intentions. Castro is one of them. He wanted everyone to have this. He saw that the poor didn't have this, the rich had too much, so he wanted it to be like communism's that way. On paper, it all sounds fantastic. Maybe when you're a kid, you think that, what's wrong with everyone having the same thing? Okay? You get older, you learn stuff, you see how people interact, you learn how businesses work, you learn how human nature is, and you realize that even though you have good intentions, it can be a road to hell as well. I think the saying goes, the road to hell is full of good intentions. I think that's what it was. So I believe that good people can get to that point where they're in control and they believe in it so much, they want to retain that power and will do everything to maintain that power. Whether that means killing people, whether that means you should think like this, or concentration camps, because they think what they're doing is good. So even though they
I like
are
what you're
good,
saying. I like what
I
you're
do
saying.
believe that people with good intentions can destroy the society that we have if they allow it to happen. So I think that it's a drug. I think that power at the top can change a human being, and it does. With even in Western societies, you can see that right now. You told me a story once how your wife, with a friendly argument, your wife was saying that I can't beat you because you articulate your words a lot better than me. And actually, to some extent, I agree with that. It's even though I've got so many things in my head going through.
How do you
and
bring
I
it
might,
out?
yeah, how do I actually articulate it in a way where it's understanding for both of us?
Right.
You are very good at that. So even though I might have an idea in a debate, you'll probably crush me in the debate.
But it depends on what my purpose is. All I want you to do is to remember. I'm not trying to teach you anything.
Yeah. When I was here in Japan, from all the way from 1999 up until now, what I've seen develop from Asian societies and Western societies. And that's where I've come to the conclusion that these policies are good. The example would clearly be when I'm in Japan, I have to adapt to the way the Japanese are. When I'm living in Thailand, I adapt to the way the Thais are. After 2 weeks of living in Japan, there was signs at the front of apartments saying Gaijin Irenai. Okay?
When?
Oh, 2000,
2000, okay,
right,
right.
Gaijin Irenai.
Yes,
Okay?
okay.
So from Western standards, clear racism. Okay? You can't do this, you can't. I still get that now in Thailand constantly. Immigration, I've been there married to a Thai wife with a son, and I have to go to immigration. I have to report every 90 days as an alien. And then I have to go and reapply every year for my visa in front of this person that's seen me for 20 years and doesn't even say hello. It's this degrading experience that I've ever experienced, okay? So this I see and I accept it because they're trying to keep their own culture, Lance. They're trying to keep Japanese. They're trying to keep Thai. I get it. I'm on your side, no problem.
Right.
Now, in Australia, we're so multicultural, and that's fine. But what they're doing wrong now is they're celebrating differences as opposed to what brings us together. And I'm sure that's the same that's happening in America.
No, it started in America.
So instead of judging somebody on a group, on how they look, judge someone on the individual, man.
Just for having an opinion, you're creating violence towards them.
Right.
You have to sit back and go, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying we need to pause, take a break, and really start to think about what we're saying and what we're really doing and how it's going to affect everyone. I think COVID was a good chance for us to really start implying that, but they were too busy trying to keep everyone scared.
Right. Generally speaking, I think COVID exposed those powerful elites.
This is why I say, Brett, I say this about this. I love my country with all my heart. I'd give my life to protect my country.
Yeah.
I don't like people that aren't American talking about my country.
Right.
However, I can't live with them.
Right. Okay.
It's like abusive parents.
Interesting.
Because of the way they project me.
Right.
Right? There's places in Africa I'm sure I wouldn't want to live because I don't belong to any of those particular tribes.
Right.
But if I were to live there, I'd want to live with the strongest tribe. Because they have their own inner conflicts. We're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, no worries, man. No, I was just lost in it. Just getting back to the
but there's no right or wrong about anything we're saying either.
But this is how people should talk.
But all the time, but they get too invested. He makes it personal. That's still in our, but we're getting better, and I feel nothing but hope for us. You know what? We communicate, even though it's through words and through written text, faster than we've ever done in man's history. Now, I think we can curtail a lot of the stuff that we're concerned about.
I think it was a TV series or a movie with Harrison Ford, and he told this story. I'm not going to tell it as good as he did, but he was talking about why we needed government, right? And he said that there was a study wherever it was where it got up to 300 people in tribes in Africa, and they were talking about the tribes that had 300 could govern themselves. So you have
a good number, yeah.
Just a number where people just knew that what their jobs were. There wasn't really a leader. There was kind of someone that you looked up to, but he would kind of have the intentions that you had, helping the whole tribe out, exactly that your intentions are, okay? He had a little bit of power, I guess, but he used it well, okay? And when it went over 300 in all these tribes, it was shown that the most powerful people would take advantage of the weakest. And that is why they had to bring in government. And that was the story he was telling. And then he said the reason why we need government is to stop that from happening. He says, however, those powerful people have found a way to control the government or be in it. And the people have to stop that, is what he was saying.
I hear you.
So I see that kind of blueprint in what we're talking about. You know,
Sure.
there are people who are at the top taking advantage of those people underneath, and we see that all the time, right? And there are people that are good, that have great intentions and use the power wisely. You know, we're getting back to what we discussed over the last hour. I think that there's two different types of people that use that power for the right and for the wrong. Right? Anyone that becomes a dictator, you know, if you have to censor somebody, I think you're on the wrong side already, right? Just let people say what they want to say.
As long as they do it in a mannerable way, we're civil.
Well, society judges them anyway.
No, but I'm saying, but some people get violent. That's what I'm saying. Without the violence, they have to be civil in the way in the discourse they have with another person.
Right.
And if they can be civil with it, go ahead, your opinion's warranted, speak. Let's disagree without being disagreeable.
It's so important, but why can't we do it?
Well, I think we do to a big extent. I think if we didn't, we wouldn't be where we are now. I think we do. But what gets on the media is when we don't. The media is the biggest problem.
Okay, so we were getting manipulated from the media anyway in the first place. And we only had 3 channels to look at.
You know what I mean?
So now, at least we've got
But the algorithms are doing it now.
Yeah.
They feed it.
You're going to need to be aware.
See,
We need to be aware of that.
That's right.
That's where critical thinking has got to
right.
come in. That's the number one thing I want to teach my son.
That's right. That, and just knowing what the difference is and where it leads to.
Right.
And show them. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you do.
But then there are
but if you hadn't touched it before, you wouldn't know.
Right.
See, so that's another thing too. If you hadn't stuck your finger in the fire, you don't know what burning feels like.
Right.
You know. So it's unavoidable. You can't protect your children. You can't protect your friends from everything because that's the world we live in. You just can't.
No.
So you do the best you can by being the example you want to be. And you know, having 4 sons, I've always worried. I don't want anything bad to happen to any of them. But should society say that happens, I'm going to be thankful for the time I had, but I'm going to be very hurt because of what's ever happened. I don't want to go anywhere right now, but I don't know what their journey is. They come through us, but not from us. So let's find out what their journey is, and you try to help them the best you can.
Like a shepherd.
Right?
Why don't you, man, I would love for you to come to Bangkok one day.
I will.
I really would love to show
I'll
you
be there. I will.
just how, like, I
But
would
still,
say,
I'll see it. But don't forget, no matter what you show me, I only see it the way I see it.
right?
See, because we can look at the same, you know that, a rose is a rose, but it depends on how what you're focusing on. You could be looking at the outline of the petals, and I might be looking at just completely the stem.
Correct. But
You'll never see what I'm saying.
I would put a wager on that you would that this place, Japan, the culture, is complete opposite
I already know,
of what Thailand is. Like more different than what Australia is to Japan.
Not the surface stuff, the deeper stuff.
Oh, there is. It's deep.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The deep stuff that you feel would be okay to know, show. That kind of stuff I'd want to know.
Okay.
That's what I'm interested in because I know the surface stuff is surface stuff.
That's
I don't
the
want to see. I don't want to see what tourists see.
No. That's exactly what I wouldn't take you.
Yeah.
I would definitely not.
Show me some other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
To do it. That I'd be interested in that. That's safe though. I don't want to get in something.
No.
They get us in there and say, okay, now you belong to us. No.
It's not like that. But yeah, no. Out of all the discussion we've had today, it would just be really good to show you that culture that I've had for the last 20 years. And coming into this now, and then them clashing. I like formal. I don't like people pushing in line.
The people that are here.
Right.
See, Japan's done a great job in conditioning their people, and they do it every single day through elementary school. But you have to go through kindergarten to 6th grade to understand what it is to be Japanese.
Right.
Because if you come in later, you're hitting your head up against the wall because you come from a place that doesn't have as many rules.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And you don't know when you're breaking the rules here unless you go through that standard. And that's what makes Japanese Japanese.
Yeah.
And it's not even about how they look now because they have so many that are mixed.
Right.
But if they went through elementary here, they're Japanese as Japanese need them to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's positives and negatives to it all, man.
The world as a whole. And you start to learn what they are, and then you work with that and decide what you want to create this time while you're here. What do you want to create? You can't do it all because there's something that all of us are subjected to that stops us from doing it all. It's something we call time.
The most important element in our life.
You're only going to get a certain amount. You get a finite amount of that. in the form we're in. I'm talking about doing it this way, right? And we do have stories of people that have been able to come back in this form, but they're rare. So for the most part, you only have a limited amount of time. Decide what those things are you want to focus on and keep your attention towards that and what you're going to do with it, how you're going to help others through it. That's what it's all about, right? Because you're really helping yourself. Whoever you're helping yourself. So how are you going to help yourself through whatever you do? Let's find that out. Brett, I want to thank you for the time. This has been good.
Thank you, Max.
This has been good. I want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And never forget, it's all unknown, so continue to reach for the stars.
Because you're too blessed to be stressed.